JodoCast again, and what I'm bringing to you this time is a short tutorial on how to modify your Recon or Retaliator barrel extension for your AK47 front grip to fit. Now, it's pretty straightforward, not a lot involved. First thing we need to do is remove the 6 screws and take out the sight piece at the front here. So, before we do that, we'll mark where we need to cut it. It's fairly straightforward. You see these supports in the middle here. Basically, the back edge of those supports, you cut straight through the whole thing along that back edge. So we'll mark that out. And then the second cut you'll make is flat along the front fascia of the back section here. So there's one cut along the back here, one cut through the back section there, and then essentially we join the two together. Alright, so first things first, I'll remove the screws and then we take out the sight at the front. That gets piffed, we don't need it, and we'll take out the actual inner barrel, and then we'll put the thing back together so that we can actually make the cuts. Alright, I'll just disassemble this and I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, so we've removed the inner barrel, the stock mounting ring, the little clip lock, and the front orange piece and the sight. The sight you can dispose of, we don't need that. Alright, now we'll take this barrel extension and we'll make these 2 cuts. Actually, I'll draw them out to show you exactly where they go through, and then we'll go about making these cuts. Now, obviously not everyone has access to a bandsaw, which is by far the quickest and easiest way of doing it. But look, you can use a Dremel with a cut-off blade. You could use a hacksaw, a scroll saw. You could even score it with a box cutter or a Stanley knife. Just continually score it until it weakens to a point where you could actually snap it through. Look, it is possible. Obviously not ideal, but look, we'll mark out where these cuts are, and then I'll show you where the cuts need to be made, and I'll just run through it quickly with the bandsaw. Alright, I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so you can see where that cut needs to be made through there. Straight along the back edge of that support, straight through up to the back edge of that support. I've just marked that with a serrated knife, actually. Just run that through it just to score and mark where the cut needs to be. Now we need to leave these 2 pieces intact, so you want the edge of your blade to butt up against the back edge of them. Alright, I'll set the camera up and I'll run this through quickly, and then I'll show you the 2 pieces once the cut's done. So now essentially what we're left with is this, and this section here is what we're getting rid of. So that will come out, and your back section will butt up against your front section there to give you a shortened barrel extension. Alright, now we've just got to sand these bottom edges smooth, that the 2 edges that we cut off, which the easiest way is to get a piece of sandpaper down and rub them back and forth. So we'll do that until we get a nice join between the 2. And we'll pop back inside to do that. Back in a second. So now that we've got our 2 pieces cut down and prepped, there's a couple of ways you can go about it. You can actually join them together, glue them together before you insert them into the extension, or you can actually push them in and glue them into the extension straight away. I would suggest gluing them together first and getting the thing right so that you're happy with it before you actually insert it into your extension. So that's what we'll do. I'll glue these pieces together. Now with the barrel extension there, you need to get this little yellow piece off from where it is. Now if it is, sometimes you can actually just push it off, like fatigue it, and it will start to move. Otherwise, the old boiling water trick. Pour a reasonable amount of boiling water over it. Always, of course, be careful while you're doing that. And then the glue will soften up, and then you can actually pry it enough to move it, because obviously we'll need to relocate that so that you get the extension effect. Alright, so I'll glue this piece, I'll put some boiling water over this piece and get it moved, and I'll come back and show you where we're at. The other thing you'll need to do with your shortened barrel extension is the hole in the front of this orange section. Obviously the barrel originally came up to just behind it, not all the way through it, so what we'll need to do is open that hole out a little bit to allow the barrel to pass right through it. So I'm just going to use the Dremel and a little grinding stone to open that up a little bit so that the barrel fits through. So I'll do that and then we'll come back and show you. Okay, so lastly we need to, well actually there's one more step. You need to mark out where this the completion of that hole and Dremel that out of the front edge to the back of the orange section. So we'll mark that out and go about dremeling that out. I just need a texter or marker, something along those lines. Just bear with me 1 second, I'll find one, mark it out, and we'll come back. So I've marked out there where I need to Dremel out, as you can see. So I will go about dremeling that back for the gas tube splitter to fit into. And then we'll come back. We're up to the second last step, so we'll come back, show you that second last step, and then we're away. Okay, so we've dremeled out that piece at the front there now. That's to accommodate the extension from the gas splitter. So I might just make one up quickly and show you how that fits. Or we might be looking at actually doing a gas splitter where this section actually extends and goes straight in there, so you don't need to add the aluminium tubing. Now, the other thing you want to do is extend your barrel further, obviously, to then put your AK sight at the other end. So you need to extend it probably another 6 or 7 inches. Now, where the gas splitter is, you can actually use the inside of that as a glue point to glue an extension to it. Or the other thing you can do is you can flip it around and put the joint inside your extension, have the joint at the front of your extension in here, and then have your barrel extended one piece from there. So, but that's something you'll have to work out for yourself, how you want to do it. Or if you can get hold of actually the best thing to use is a long shot front gun in a barrel, because it is a longer piece, so you can actually use that and put a joint like right in the middle of this section here, so that it's got a reasonable amount of support before running the full length up to here, which is what I've done with my AK extension there. Alright, now we'll do this little gas tube section at the front there. It's just a piece of aluminium tubing, 16mm aluminium tubing. I'll just cut a length of that and show you how it fits. Well, actually, I don't need to, do I? Because I can show you how it fits there. So essentially, yeah, you add your tubing to your gas tube splitter, and then slide it down your barrel extension, and it will slot into the section at the front there that you've cut out, and dremeled out at the bottom, which is that there. All right. Now, the last thing you have to do is, because of the way that this fits, it is a very tight fit, and it doesn't quite give you enough length to slide it back to lock it into place. I'll see if I can show you what I mean. If I attempt to put it into the barrel, see it's about a couple of mil short. So you need to actually clean out the inside by a couple of mil so that it will slide on properly. Now how we go about doing that is just in there you can see a couple of little side protrusions and what have you. Is we just need to grind them back so that barrel lock piece will actually slide in that extra couple of mil. So it'll involve dismantling this again, opening it up, grinding those couple of things back, then we'll put it all back together and I'll show you how it fits. While I've got it open, I'll show you the bits that I've ground off. As luck would have it, I have a spare barrel attachment piece, so I'll use that as a guide so we can see just exactly where we need to grind out. Now, the other thing you may need to do is this barrel attachment ring, the front little orange tabs of it, you may need to grind them down slightly, just rub them back and forth on a bit of sandpaper to get them to fit in and not interfere with your join. So you can see that it's hitting on the little L-shaped risers that hold either side of that tube, so we need to grind those back, just that couple of mil, so that it'll allow it to slide in that little bit further. Grind those off, I'll show you exactly where we're grinding. So essentially we need to grind back this edge here, so we'll take a couple of mil off this edge, bringing it back this way. Same with this one here, a couple of mil off that edge, bringing it back this way, level with the leading edge of this holder. And same here, these little L shapes here, we'll bring them back to where that vertical support is. So we'll grind that one back to where that vertical support is, top and bottom. Right, we'll do that and we'll come back and test fit it. Okay, so we have ground back those, those couple of edges. There, you can see where that's been ground back in there, and at the bottom. And at the top there, we've ground those little pieces away, and the front edge, that little round support that was along the front edge of the section, we've done that on the bottom one as well. So now our barrel attachment point should be able to fit in and turn, which it can. Alright, so now we can reassemble and put the whole thing together and go back and do a test fit. Okay, so there's your shortened barrel extension completed now. We've got the sections ground out of the back there to allow it to fit on further. It's all super glued or glued in place and what have you. It's ready to insert into the front end extension, the foregrip housing. So we'll slide that in and do a test fit. Now, essentially the Krinkov section, basically that's all it is. It's just exactly this with the Krinkov sight slid on it. So that is an option. The other option is to extend it further so you can turn it to a full AK grip, AK extension. Alright, I'll fit this in now and we'll see how it fits onto the blaster. Now, when this slides in, it should be a pressure fit. Like, there should be a little bit of resistance, but it should slide on relatively easy, like that. And Bob's your uncle. It's all in place, ready to fit. So we'll test fit that onto your AK style foregrip, which you just add your sight, and you can go the Krinkov look, or turn it to full AK47 with the length and barrel extension, entirely up to yourself. Alright, so there we go. That's how you build the foregrip section for your AK or your Krinkov. If you have any questions, leave them in the boxes below, in the comments box below, and I'll attempt to get back to you and help you further. But hopefully that's been comprehensive enough to explain exactly how to build and assemble one of these AK47 foregrips. Thanks for watching, and cheers.